Richard II is a poet, a fashion-savvy gentleman, and the King of England. Henry Bolingbroke, his cousin, and Thomas Mowbray accuse each other of treason, Bolingbroke saying that Mowbray has caused the death of the king's uncle Gloucester, and they both appeal to the king to mediate their dispute. When the two men do not listen to Richard's commands, they make their peace. Richard agrees that they should sort out the disagreement in trial by combat. The two get all ready to fight when suddenly Richard stops them and banishes them both. Bolingbroke for 10 years, and Mowbray for life. John of Gaunt, Bolingbroke's father and the king's uncle, is very sad because he is old and sick and will certainly be dead before his son returns from banishment. Richard has been listening to flatterers and making irresponsible and expensive life choices, and when he hears that John of Gaunt is dying, he goes to visit him. They argue. John of Gaunt says that all of England is suffering from Richard's ineptitude as a king, and after the argument, he dies. Before his body is cold, Richard has claimed all of his valuables and his land, and uses these resources to go to Ireland to fight an unnecessary war. This comes as a great shock to the nobles of the court, including his uncle York, whom he has left in charge. Henry Bolingbroke, Gaunt's heir, is banished but still alive, and the lands that Richard just took are his inheritance. The Duke of Northumberland has been in contact with Bolingbroke, who breaks his exile and returns to England. Bolingbroke and York talk together, and the nephew convinces the uncle that he has returned only for his lawful right. After all, the same bloodline, the same divine right that makes Richard king, makes Henry Bolingbroke the Duke of Lancaster. During his absence, Richard's flattering friends, Bushy, Bagot, and Green, fail to rally any support for Richard in Wales or England. They are captured and executed by Bolingbroke for their misguidance of the king. When Richard returns to England, he finds there is no army to support him. Bolingbroke has near total support of the nobles, and even the common people love him. Richard despairs, and he and his few faithful comrades sit on the ground and talk about the death of kings. Richard and followers meet with Bolingbroke, the king in all his finery, and they come to a sort of agreement. Then Aumerle is accused of killing Gloucester. Bolingbroke arrests everyone, and Richard agrees to give up the crown. The melancholy queen doesn't know about any of these political changes. She learns about her husband's fall from some gardeners. Bolingbroke summons Richard to give up the crown and finds that pressuring a king to abdicate is a painfully touchy business. In front of the whole court, Richard compares him and all the people of England to Judas betraying their king. But in the end, he mournfully hands over the crown. Henry Bolingbroke is crowned Henry IV. Richard is sent to prison. His queen is sent to France. Some people still loyal to Richard plot to kill the new king, Aumerle among them. When his father, the Duke of York, finds out, the whole family of York rushes to King Henry. Aumerle to confess, his mother to ask for mercy, his father to plead for his death. Bolingbroke pardons Aumerle for his aunt of York's sake, but tells Aumerle that he must be a better subject in the future. To show his loyalty to the newly crowned Henry, he goes to the Tower of London and kills Richard. In the final scene, Henry receives message after message of revolters killed in his name. He thanks his loyal subjects for their defense of his throne, when at last Aumerle comes in with Richard's body, and Henry lashes out at Aumerle for laying hands against the former king. Henry sees his rise to power with fresh eyes and fears for his soul, promising to go on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem to clear his name from all this noble blood.